There's Mr. Rio here, and we actually just had our sociology Zoom meeting. I just did some review for the test tomorrow, but I forgot to hit record, so I'm going to make a special one right now just for you guys. I'm going to go to my screen here, and maybe I forgot to leave it. Did I leave it open? Yes, I did. Okay, so I'm just going to go to share screen here real quick, and there it is. And here we are. So I'm just going to do a shorter version of what I just did, but I think that'll be fine. This week, we're wrapping up our Chapter 3, Social Structure. You should have watched the videos for that and did the assignment and watch these videos, do the assignment with this. These videos all go with Chapter 3. They're not side videos. They're definitely about Chapter 3. We had a TED Talk that relates a bit to Chapter 3 by a 10th grader from South America. This will be for the test tomorrow. I'll get back to that in a moment. And then, of course, your slides are due this week. You should have started them last week. They're a bit shorter. They're only 36 slides. And our topic this week, of course, is social structure. Social structure is about the network of interrelated statuses and roles that guide human interaction. And a status is a socially defined position in society, while a role is a behavior or the rights and obligations attached to a status. So a status example would be, in my case, I have, one status I'd say is I'm middle class. In the US, we generally say that there are upper class or wealthy people, there's upper middle class, there's middle class, there's working class, which actually working class could mean doesn't mean you make less money. It just means you're in more blue collar type jobs, like working in factories and things like that. And then there's people that are more poor. So we have different classes. Most Americans consider themselves middle class or working class. And then some would consider themselves poor or rich. Status could also be based on your job or whatever you're involved in. For another thing with status is kind of interesting. Two groups that have high status but low incomes, I should say low compared to many other people, would be teachers and clergy. Clergy would be people in charge of religious groups like pastors and priests and stuff and rabbis, and teachers. Now, teachers and clergy may not have the highest pay around, but they, generally speaking, based on survey and results, got pretty high status. In other words, it generally looked well upon. And of course, other people in society with various roles and jobs have high status too. It's not just college educated people, skilled trades have high status, and you can make a lot of money and do real well, and that's generally looked upon very good to have a skilled trade. If you're a business owner, that's high status. You own a business, you have employees. And of course, people have status for lots of different things. If they're involved in charities and community work and things like that, or if you're, part of an organization and you're respected in that organization, you get a high status. Now, I'm not going to go, I went through a lot of these in other Zooms, so I'm not going to go through a lot of this or in past Zooms. I'm going to jump to the pre-industrial, industrial, and post-industrial. These are three levels of economic development. Pre-industrial be your most primitive, go back hundreds of years in the US or Europe. Some parts of the world are still pre-industrial. They haven't developed industries. Pretty much people are just hunting, gathering, raising a few animals, growing a little food, making a few things by hand. Very primitive and basic. Then a lot of countries have moved to industrial where they're making things. People are getting more education. Machines are taking over a lot of the labor from animals and people. There's a lot of jobs, a lot of movement to cities, and a lot of changes taking place of that. Kind of like the early Europe in the 1800s when sociology got started, and the US until maybe about the 1980s. Now we're in post-industrial societies, which includes the US, West Europe, Japan, a lot of countries around the world, advanced countries. And even though there are still industries and those type of jobs, there's less and less of that and more people working in information and services. That could be education, healthcare, computers and technology, and so forth. And generally speaking, these countries have high standards of living, high education, and science is important, and technology plays a big role. So your test tomorrow will be posted by 9 a.m. So take it and do your best tomorrow. If you can't take it tomorrow for some good reason, contact me. Otherwise, I expect you to take it between 9 a.m. and midnight. You can use your notes. It's a little less notes this time around. Or wrap up chapter 3. Make sure you get all your other work in for this week. And then next week we'll start new chapter, new topics. So without further ado, good luck and test day tomorrow. And then if you got everything in, you got the weekend off. Take care.